Now we're going to talk about functions and their graphs. A function from x into y is a rule that assigns each element of x to a unique element of y. The set x is called the domain. The set y is called the range. Here's an illustration of a function. We have a set x, which is the domain, containing the elements a, b, and c. The set y, which we're calling the range, which has elements q, r, and s. The function f assigns to each element in x exactly one element in y, which would be if we assigned a to q, b to r, and c to s, we would have a function of f from x into y. Suppose we define a function f of x to be 2x squared plus 5. The rule means for each x in the domain, we square it, multiply that result by 2, and add 5 to it. For example, this means that for any element in the domain, the function says you take this element, you square it, and then multiply that by 2 and add 5 to that result. Let's see. Suppose 3 is in the domain of the function. Then what we'll do is we'll square it, multiply the 3 squared by 2, and add 5 to it. It's 3 squared times 2, and then plus 5, which gives us 23. So, when we place 3, apply the function to 3, where 3 is in the domain, we obtain 23, which is in the range. Let's suppose x plus h is in the domain of this function. What that means then is, that means we square x plus h, multiply that result by 2, and then add 5 to it. F of x plus h is 2 times x plus h squared plus 5. Now we're going to compute the difference quotient, which is f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. We found that f of x plus h is 2 times x plus h squared plus 5. We put the brackets around it to make sure that we understand what is f of x plus h. This minus sign comes from here. Then we're subtracting f of x, so we are careful to put parentheses around f of x so that we will be able to distribute the negative. We expand the x plus h square, so this is 2 x squared plus 2xh plus h squared, and then we have the plus 5. Then we distribute the negative. Negative 2x squared, negative 5. We see that we have a plus 5 and a negative 5, so those cancel. Now we distribute the 2. 2x squared plus 2 times 2xh is 4xh, and then 2 times the h squared is 2h squared. We bring down the negative 2x squared. Notice we have plus 2x squared minus 2x squared, so they cancel. That leaves us the 4xh plus 2h squared. Well, there is a factor of h here, so we can factor out an h. What's left is 4x plus 2h over h. Now these h's cancel, and the result is 4x plus 2h. Our next question is, how do you find a domain of a function that looks like this? Notice the t minus 1 under the radical is all in the denominator. And this function is not defined when the denominator is 0, and it's not defined when there's a negative under the radical. So we see that we can compute the domain if we know that t minus 1 is strictly bigger than 0. If we add 1 to both sides here, then we see that the domain is all t where t is bigger than 1. Now we're going to look at a graph and determine the domain, the range, the x, and the y intercepts. Notice the domain are all the values x can be. And we see that x can go from 0 to 10. So the domain is all x from 0 to 10. The range is all the values that y can be. Y goes from -4 up to 3. So the range is the closed interval from -3 to 3. The x-intercepts are all the points where the graph touches the x-axis or passes through it. The first point is where x is 1, 4, and 10. So the x-intercepts are 1, 4, and 10. There's only one y-intercept, and that's where the graph touches the y-axis at -3. Therefore, the y-intercept is -3. Let's look at this example, the effect of elevation on weight. If an object weighs m pounds at sea level, then its weight, capital W, in pounds at a height of h miles above sea level is given approximately by this function. Weight as a function of height equals m times the square of 4,000 divided by 4,000 plus h. Now, if Amy weighs 120 pounds at sea level, how much will she weigh on Pikes Peak, which is 14,100 feet above sea level? Well, notice, first of all, h is in terms of miles, and we are given this in terms of feet, so we must use some conversions. We know that 1 mile is 5,280 feet, so we convert here, which is 235 divided by 88 miles. Now we substitute this term in place of h. So h is 235 divided by 88 miles. The 120 came from Amy's weight, which is 120 pounds. So it's 120, and it's times the 4,000 divided by 4,000 plus 235 divided by 88 squared. This is an example of how we use a rule, this rule, to compute this weight. Thank you.